Hello everyone and welcome back to Lucky Loaders 15, where I'll be giving you 7 of my best tips for tomorrow's racing. Now before we get stuck into that, I quickly want to apologise for not making a video on today's racing. Unfortunately, I just didn't have the time last night and that's why there wasn't a video here on my YouTube channel. But if you want to know why there isn't a video on my YouTube channel, either check in the comments box below, because I did pin a comment up saying that there wouldn't be a video, or you can follow me on social media, where the best place to do so is on Twitter, where my handle is @LuckyLoader15, and there's a link to my handle in the description box below. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, that's my handle. Also as well, if you haven't done so already, make sure you listen to the latest episode of the In the Saddle podcast, where I was joined by the usual suspects of my co-host Mark Karosky, also as well racing blogger Katie Clements, and former jockey and racing TV Tipstar 2020 finalist Paul Callahan. And we were talking about this weekend's action at Haydock and also as well at Ascot, giving our thoughts on the long walk hurdle. If you haven't listened to it already, there's links in the description box below which cover all the main podcast platforms, which include the likes of iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, whichever one takes your fancy. Just hit one of the links in the description box below. So that's all I got to say, and let's get in then for the tips for tomorrow's racing. Now we're going to be going to Newcastle for the first of them tomorrow, which is going to be coming in my next best. We go to the 12:30 with a horse called Scottish Accent for Nathan Mosscrop claiming free, and he's riding for Rebecca Menzies. Now this horse, he's I think he's starting to come into his own now. He's been running fairly credibly this season. He finished 5th on his chase debut behind El Khaldoon, but he then stepped up, I thought, on his latest effort to finish in 2nd place at Sedgefield, and I think he's got a very progressive profile. If you actually go back through a lot of his form as a novice hurdler last year, it actually stacks up quite well. And he's thrown in here off a mark of 107, which I think is fairly workable. And with the £3 of Nathan Mosscrop coming into the bargaining, I think he's fairly well treated in this race tomorrow, and he's got a lot of progression. Also as well, what's interesting is Rebecca Menzies' team, Small But Select, have actually been going quite well of late. They had a winner today at Savile on the flat, and then they had a raider down at Newbury there, where they wouldn't send too many, with Sal, who was a very comfortable winner, and Nathan Mosscrop was aboard that day. So both arrive here in good form tomorrow, and this horse has ran some, like I said, some good efforts in his career so far, and he'll like the testing ground at Newcastle tomorrow. He just looks like a thorough staying chaser to me, or a horse that's going to develop into that, and I just think there's lots to like about his chances tomorrow. You can currently back him at 7-2. And I think he'll go really close, and he might just be able to outstay this field, who I have a few doubts about with the trip and also as well the ground. Whereas I think this lad, he shaped really well last time at Sedgefield, and I think he'll be winning a race anytime soon. And I'm hoping that day would be tomorrow, and that's why he's going to be my next best in the 12:30 at Newcastle. We then stay there at Newcastle with the next selection, and we go to the 140, the feature class 3 race there for their card, and I'm going to be going with a horse here called She's a Super Mac. This is going to be an extra tip. You can currently back this mare at 15-8 for Conor O'Farrell and Ian Jardine. Now this horse has been very, very unlucky, and it doesn't take a genius to find this horse, but I just thought this was a very winnable race for her. She's been holding her form really well. She probably should have won at Ayr on her penultimate start, where she beat up the LEAA and also as well Strong Economy, who was a winner at Ayr earlier in the week. So that form has been boosted. She then went to Huntington last time again when she was very well fancied, but she was really unlucky that day. There's quite a few fallers in that race, and she was badly hampered by pretty much all of them, and she just bumped into a 40-1 shot that day. And if she'd been away from the traffic, I suspect she would have won. Also as well, what's interesting is returning back here to Newcastle, which was actually the last place she won at Newcastle. Her last race win came at the track on testing conditions over the trip, you know. So again, that's going to be a massive positive for her tomorrow. And I just think she's been so unlucky on her last few starts. She is going to come into her own, and I think finally, if she just gets the luck and a bit of the rub of the green, I think she'll go and take all the beating in this race at Newcastle. So that's just going to be an extra tip tomorrow. She's a Super Mac. We then go to the 150 at Ascot for another extra tip. It looks a competitive race on paper, but I thought Drumcliff was really interesting here. You can currently back this horse at 11 to 1 with Paddy and Betfair, who are offering 4 places. So if you want the extra places, make sure you go over there. This horse is trained by Harry Fry, and his sister-in-law Aine O'Connor is coming back over from Ireland tomorrow, where she's been doing not too badly of late, to claim a handy £5 off the horse's back. Also as well, she's got a really good relationship with this horse. The last time he actually won came with Aine O'Connor aboard, so that's a massive positive there, and she's actually won him twice during his career, which actually included one of his finest hours with a course win at Ascot a couple of years ago. So rekindling that relationship is going to be a massive positive tomorrow. Also as well, Harry Fry's team are in pretty good form at the moment. They've been having a few winners in the week. I know they had a couple of winners at Exeter yesterday, and they had another couple of winners, I think it was at Ludlow on Wednesday. So yeah, they're stable, coming into a little bit of form now, and they tend to do quite well at Ascot with their runners. And this horse as well, like I said, he's done pretty well at Ascot. He's already a course winner, and he ran a really respectable race last time out behind Espoir de Guy. He's going to be running in the Ascot Silver Handicap Chase tomorrow for Venetia Williams. I thought that was a really good run, and as a result, he actually was raised £1, but he's still really well treated on some of his old form, you know. And I just think with Aine coming back on, and also as well the headgear, I think there's a lot to like about this horse going very well tomorrow, and I think over this trip as well it's probably as ideal. So for me, Drumcliff, I think at 11 to 1, that's a good each way price there, and I'd be disappointed if this horse couldn't at least finish in the first 4. So that's going to be one of my extra tips there in the 150 at Ascot. We then go to the 205 for the nap of the day. Now this horse, I couldn't believe the price of it. You can currently back this horse at 6 to 1 for Sam Twiston-Davies and Nigel Twiston-Davies, and it is Our Power. Now this horse last time finished 3rd at Haydock, where I would urge anyone to go back and watch the race replay. He was probably one of the most unluckiest horses in that race, along with the likes of Umbragado, and also as well the horse that fell, Arrivederci, because he was running really well, and we'll talk about him a little bit later. But it was a really warm race, I thought, last time out, and Warlord, who won that race, he just got it perfectly set up for him, and he was able to stay out of the treble. But like I said, Our Power was really inconvenienced by the fall of Arrivederci, and in the end, if he probably hadn't been hampered, he probably would have gone very close to winning that race, because as he went up the home straight at Haydock in testing ground, which it's going to be tomorrow, he was actually starting to make another challenge, and he was building back the momentum which he had lost earlier on in the home straight, and he finished the race really strongly, and he was raised a couple of pounds for that. However, in that race when he was meeting Warlord, he actually had to give him quite a bit of weight, whereas tomorrow he's going to be £5 better off. So that's another positive too. This horse has got a lot of good form going back through his most recent starts. He finished 3rd in the Greatwood Handicap at Cheltenham, and also as well he won the silver plate handicap hurdle at Kempton not long before lockdown. So he's got a lot of strong form to his name. He's got a bit of speed about him as well. And yeah, Nigel's team haven't been in good form at the moment, but I just thought it was a really warm race at Haydock last time, and he was definitely one of the unlucky ones. And with the massive swing at the weights with Warlord, I expect Our Power to go and do the job here. I actually put him up at a bigger price earlier in the week on the Insider podcast. So if you took the advice there, you hopefully are sitting on some bigger prices. But I still thought 6 to 1 in this 8-runner race was still extremely good value. If you want to back him each way, fair play to you, but I'm just going to go for a win-only bet. I'm really confident about his chances tomorrow, and I'll be disappointed if he can't go very close. So Our Power is nap of the day in the 205 at Haydock. We then go to the long shot of the day. We focus our attentions there in the 240 at Haydock for the Tommy Whittle Chase, and we're going to be going with Salty Boy here for Mitchell Bastion, claiming free, riding for David Bridgewater. You can currently back this horse at the time of recording at 14 to 1 with Skybet, who are offering 4 places on this race. Now, some of you might have already heard again on the In the Saddle podcast that I quite liked Salty Boy for this race because he's been catching my eye in recent starts. Now, I know if you look at the bare form, it doesn't suggest that he's been running particularly well. However, his 4th place effort at Sandown, he was very eye-catching there as he stayed up the hill very strongly, and the winner of that race, Severano, has subsequently gone on to win again for Oliver Sherwood when he won at Exeter a couple of weeks ago. Also as well, I thought he was quite eye-catching at Ascot, where he was off the bridle well early on, and it looked like he was well beat. However, if you go back and watch a replay of that race and actually watch out for him, he is rallying again very strongly at the line. That was a good race, I think. It has been let down by Chris Gordon's horse called Go Whatever earlier on this week, because he ran at Exeter, ran well for a long way, but just got tired in the closing stages. But the winner that day was a horse of Kerry Lee's called D Machine, who I think is a really smart prospect, and I think it's going to pay dividends to follow his form line. So I think Salty Boy, like I said, he has been running really encouragingly and better than the bare results suggest on his last couple of starts, and I think he's definitely going to be suited by the nature of Haydock tomorrow, that long track, and I think he's been crying out for a trip, and he can handle testing ground. Also as well, when he was trained over in Ireland previously before he came to David Bridgewater, he had some good form over there. He bumped into Manello Indo once in a chase, in a novice chase, and also as well won a couple of nice pots. I remember he won a big pot, if I remember. I think he won a Grade B handicap over hurdles. I think it might have been Nath or Navan a couple of years ago. I always get confused between those two tracks, but yeah, he has got some good back class going back for his form, and he has shown ability over fences. And I just think with his younger profile, and also as well the fact that I think he wants a trip, I think he can run a massive race, and he was dropped down to a mark of 125, and I think he's more than capable of winning races off this kind of mark. And I just think the long straight Haydock will really suit him at 14 to 1. I'm really sweet on his chances to go and run a big race for us. So that's going to be the long shot of the day tomorrow in the Tommy Whittle, the 240 at Haydock. We then go with another extra tip. We go to the Betfair Exchange hurdle, the listed handicap hurdle, really competitive race on paper. And listeners of the In the Saddle podcast will know that I was all over Buzz earlier this week, but the more I thought about it, I just wonder if there's one or two others in here, maybe looking at their form claims now, that maybe just could be better treated slightly at the weights. And the one that I've come down on is Arrivederci, who I mentioned earlier in this video, who's got the form line with Our Power and also as well Warlord. Now Arrivederci was actually entered in that race at Haydock, so I think it's really interesting that John Joe Neal, who's the trainer of this horse, has decided to come here where arguably it's a bigger prize pot, and also as well a more prestigious race and a more competitive race. I think it speaks volumes that they've decided to come here. You can currently get this horse at 7 to 1, and that was currently available with Betfair, who are offering 6 places on the race. So I'm going to recommend an each way selection here. John Joe Neal Jr. as well is booked for the ride. But going back to this horse, he like I said last time, was very well fancied to go well at Haydock, but was unlucky when he unseated his rider early on in the home straight, when still travelling well in contention, and you couldn't have ruled it out that he wouldn't have won that day. So he was unlucky there. But if you go back to his form at Wetherby, that race has worked out really well, because he beat Warlord that day, and there's been a couple of other horses in there that have come out and boosted the form since. So yeah, he's definitely got an air of improvement about him. Also as well, some of his novice form wasn't too bad, and his win at Wetherby, I should have said, was actually over a slightly further trip, over 2 miles and 3 furlongs. But the way this race is going to set up tomorrow, you're going to have the likes of Not So Sleepy, a couple of others as well, going really hard early on. It could just make it into a battle of stamina over this trip, you know, and you probably want a bit of stamina in reserve to be coming there of late run. I think this horse, it'll be travelling really well into the race, and I think if he's still travelling well coming into the home bend, I think he's going to go very close, and I'll be disappointed if he couldn't finish in the 6th places. He's currently got a mark of 138, which I think is very workable. And also as well, one thing that I will just mention, John Joe Neal, really watch out for his stable at the moment, because I think he's got a lot of well handicapped horses, and he's coming up with a few plans. Obviously he won the Labrooks Trophy with Cloth Cap. Also as well, Sky Pirate, I think he's been a bit of a project horse. Like I said, we put him up last week, Sky Pirate, but his target was actually the Paddy Power Gold Cup, where he ran well for a long way. But they've had a few projects with him in the last couple of outings. They've got a few ideas they want to take him, and they've got a few others for some other horses as well. And I think Quarenta, who I'm not brave enough to put up tomorrow, I think that horse could be a project horse. That could maybe be a Scottish national horse later on in the season, in my opinion. So I think John Joe Neal, watch out for what he's doing at the moment, because I think he's got some nicely handicapped horses, and I think he's going to be dominating some of the handicaps like he used to a few years ago. So Arrivederci, it is going to be an extra tip tomorrow in the 3:35, the final race of the year there. And then there's just one tip for the evening racing at Wolverhampton, where I've actually come across this one when doing a bit of form studying today for Sky Sports Racing, doing the form clips for tomorrow. been working there today, so yeah, been a long day, but I stumbled across this one and I just had to put them up, and that's Kick On in the 7:30 at Wolverhampton for Richard Kingscote and Ian Williams. Richard Kingscote's riding really well at the moment. He's actually up there at the moment, joint leader I think he is, in the all-weather jockeys championship. It looks like he's possibly going for the title this year, and arguably he was a bit unlucky last time when riding this horse Kick On at Lingfield when he finished in 7th place. He was coming with a good run, and then he just got badly hampered, and it just unchecked his momentum, and then he had to regather himself. And then when he did, he actually flew home, and he ran on really strongly out the line in a race won by Boom the Groom. That was actually in a warmer race, and he's dropping down in class tomorrow. And if you actually go back to his second to last run, so his penultimate start, he actually flew home and was unlucky again over the course and distance. So he has been unlucky the last couple of times, and he does need a few things to work well for him. He needs those gaps to open up. However, I think he's potentially still very well handicapped, and I think it speaks volumes that Connections are sending him out again so quickly. So kick on tomorrow. If he can get the gaps, I just think at 9-4 there's a lot in his favour, and I think he'll go very well. So that's going to be my extra and final tip of the day. So that rounds off the 7 tips. Then quickly just do a recap for you there. So in the 12:30 at Newcastle, Scottish Accent is the next best of the day, 7-2 win only. In the 1:40 at Newcastle, She's the Super Mac, 15-8 win only bet. An extra tip of the day runs in the 1:50 at Ascot with Drumcliff, 11-1 each way, 4 places, Betfair and Paddy Power. The nap of the day is a win on the nose bet for our power in the 205 at Haydock, 6-1 win only bet. The long shot of the day runs in the 240 at Haydock, the Tommy Whittle chase for Mitchell Bastian and David Bridgewater, currently 14-1, 4 places each way Skybet. An extra tip of the day is in the 3:35 at Ascot with Arrivederci. You can currently back that horse at 7-1 each way, 6 places Betfair. And then in the final selection of the day, we go to the evening racing at Wolverhampton with Kick On, 9-4 win only bet. So they're the 7 tips for tomorrow's racing. If you're enjoying these videos, please remember to subscribe here to my YouTube channel at Lucky Loaders 15. Also as well, please remember to give us a thumbs up. I really appreciate all the support you give me. If you want to follow me on Twitter as well, you can do, where my handle is at Lucky Loader 15. And if you want to find out a bit more about myself, my website address is www.chrisloaderracing.co.uk. So please gamble responsibly. Hopefully we can have some winners tomorrow, and we'll be seeing you soon.